All right, Sean, I have a little joke for you. Knock, knock.
Who's there?
Well, not Joe Biden. He's in his basement. Well, check out this headline, Sean. It's from Politico. It says Trump campaign knocks on 1 million doors a week. Biden knocks on 0. You know, Sean, the president's camp, as you know, has thousands of volunteers taking the tried and true approach, while Biden's team is sticking to this virtual campaign mode of phone calls. So this isn't really a knock-knock joke, but which candidate will be laughing in the end? Let's bring in Matt Gorman, the vice president of Targeted Victory and former NRCC communications director, and Luke Thompson, Republican political consultant. Gentlemen, welcome.
Thanks for having us.
All right, well, we're seeing two juxtapositions here. Trump campaign going the traditional route and the Biden camp trying this new virtual route. Matt, who has the winning strategy?
Look, I think you need to make in-person contacts, especially among voters that are reliably Republican, which are seniors. They're not necessarily on every social media aspect. I think sometimes Democrats can be too smart for their own good. This seems to be one of those opportunities. Look, you need to make sure, knock on these doors, talk to them in person, and make sure these folks are going to the polls. There's too much at stake this fall.
You know, Luke, as we're in this coronavirus world and people don't like to be close to each other, is there some good strategy in this that people might like this new virtual world?
There's always some risk that you might get some blowback from individual voters. But I think the most important thing to understand is that all of the evidence suggests that knocking on people's doors is the best way to get them to vote. And given extended early voting periods because of coronavirus, canvassing door to door is going to be really, really important to make sure people get their ballots in the mail or turn them in early.
Yeah, the thing that's interesting is that it's not a one or the other thing necessarily. The Trump campaign is doing the digital stuff, but it's knocking on the doors. The Biden campaign is doing the digital and phone calling, but not knocking on the doors. Matt, do you think that come November, the Biden campaign in some of these battleground states is going to look back and saying removing that was a huge mistake?
Yes, quite frankly. Look, to Luke's point, he makes a great point. That is very well established. If you advertise on digital and you call somebody up, that is great, but that still doesn't get them to where they need to go. It doesn't motivate them to vote enough. So what you need to do is you need to get them from point A to point B, do it face to face. And you're right, it works hand in hand, but you need that last component, that face to face component, that is key.
Luke, I always point out to people that the president won Michigan by 0.22%, 10,704 votes. Do you think that this kind of ground game, not just how they're operating, but they've been operating for 3 years putting this together as opposed to the Biden campaign that hasn't even been going for 3 months in the battleground states? How much of an edge do you think that gives the Trump campaign heading into these final months?
So, Sean, there are two edges here, and you don't need me to tell you about this, but every campaign comes down to part persuasion, part mobilization. You want to make sure that you persuade the people who are definitely going to vote but might be on the fence about you, and mobilize the people who will definitely vote for you if they vote at all. The advantage the Trump campaign has, as every incumbent presidential campaign has, is that they've been collecting information for 3 years about where people stand. Obviously, the virus changed some of that, but they have a pretty good sense about who's in the persuasion camp, who's in the mobilization camp. And by starting on the doors now with extended early voting, they can start mobilizing and banking votes early. And as you noted, in states that are going to be decided by less than a point or two, ground game really can make a difference.
So, guys, last night, Kansas was a big win for the Republican Party in the sense that there's a belief that Roger Marshall was the only one that could keep that in safe Republican hands. Whether it's true or not, it doesn't matter. He won. I think that does definitely assuage Democratic hopes of picking that up. That being said, Matt Gorman, where do you put the Senate right now in terms of being in play for Democrats to pick it up?
Well, I'm no Kansas native or expert like my friend Luke there, but I think the biggest thing from last night is now Republicans won't have to spend money or as much money in Kansas, right? That money can go to races in Maine, North Carolina, Arizona, and the like, because as you know, money's fungible, resources are not endless. So right now, as of last night, that really is an advantage for Republicans keeping the Senate. I think as of today, they're going to keep it.
Luke, where do you put it?
Well, look, Roger Marshall withstanding $5 million in negative spending from Democrats is a big deal. His pulling about 40% of the vote is a statement victory. So obviously, I think that'll scare Democrats out of Kansas and the prospect of spending big money there. Right now, Republicans have two uphill climbs in the Mountain West, Colorado and Arizona, but we're very lucky to have great candidates there. Then if you look to the east, obviously Iowa, Maine, North Carolina, we have some incumbents playing defense. We're going to pick up the Alabama seat. So all in all, I think this race is really coming down to where within that orbit of 4 seats flip Democrat, flip Republican. Let's call it an even split 2-2 in Republican polls.
All right, gentlemen, as we get closer to Election Day, I look forward to checking back in with you.
Great.
Thanks, John.
All right. Well, every week now we've been receiving your great feedback, so thank you so much for that. And we would love to hear more. If you have thoughts on our content or just want to send me and Sean a note or any of our Newsmax hosts, we would love it. But also, please feel free to let us know about issues with getting Newsmax on your cable provider. Well, to get in touch with us, just use the online form. You can find it on newsmaxtv.com/feedback, and we hope to hear from you really soon. Well, can Congress come to an agreement to extend unemployment benefits for millions of Americans who are out of work because of COVID-19? We'll discuss with our company next. And later, Duck Dynasty star Phil Robertson joins us to talk about winning back the soul